Hello guys, I'm going to be talking about pointers today, and we're going to understand what pointers are and why we need them. And later on, when we're going to be talking about functions, we're going to fully understand why we need pointers. And also, when we get to the advanced level, we're going to apply pointers to solve real life problems. So, pointers, this is a special type of variable. Is very important because it gives us access to the value without dealing with the variable itself. So just think of pointer as an house address. So let's say you live somewhere and you want me to come to your house to do something. Let's say you want me to change your wardrobe. You need to give me the address of your house. Without your address, I can't go to your house and get inside your house and make any changes. And pointers is just like address. So when you give address, then I can actually come to your house to make changes. And that's why pointers are very important. Pointers, these are special type of variables that can actually hold memory address of another variable. So now we're not talking about house address, we're talking about memory address. But you can actually think about house address because this is very much related. So pointers, how do we declare pointers? This is how we declare pointers. First of all, we need to indicate the data types. If it's integer, we need to indicate that, and we need to indicate asterisk. And the meaning of this asterisk actually means you're trying to declare a pointer. So if I don't put this asterisk, then compiler is not going to know if this p is just a variable or pointer. Because if you want to declare variable from the beginner playlist, you guys see that we declare variable and we don't use this asterisk. So we only declare these variables. And if we want to tell the compiler that we're not declaring just a normal variable, regular variable, we're trying to declare a pointer, then we have to use this asterisk. And now we've declared this pointer, and this pointer now points nowhere. This we've declared this pointer, but now this pointer doesn't have a value. It does not have a fixed address, so we need to assign the address. So this is just a pointer that points to random things. So if I try to display the result of this, it's going to give me random values, which means this address does not point to anything. So now we need to actually assign values to these pointers. So now how do we do that? Now we've actually assigned address to this pointer. So now p is actually holding address of f. First of all, I need to declare this variable f, which is now equal to 6, and this means the address. So this ampersand, it means the address. Then p actually hold the address, and f is actually the name of the variable we're trying to hold the address. So now there are two important things about pointers that we need to know. So that's what I'm going to clarify here. So if I say asterisk p, this means the value, this means the value, and p means the address. So this variable is actually doing two things. It can actually access the address. This is the address, so the p is holding the address, and this asterisk is what gives us access to the value stored in that address. So I'm going to use this analogy. Let's say we store from here int f equal to 6. So let's say we store 6 here, and the name of this compartment is f. So now our pointer is going to take the address. So it's not dealing with f directly, it's just going to store the address. So the pointer is now storing the address of this compartment. So it's storing the address of this compartment. So now let's say I want to make changes. So this asterisk, it allows us to access what is here. So p, actually what p does is it's store the address. So it takes the address while the asterisk give us access to the value inside the address. So without this asterisk we can't know the value, we can't make any changes here. So this asterisk is just like a key, while this p is like your house address. So it's like you give me your address to go to your house to change wardrobe. So now your house need a key, I need a key to enter your house. So this is the address, you give me the address, which is the p, and this asterisk is the key that you gave me to enter your house. So without the key I can't enter your house, but I can actually know where your house is. I can get to your house, but there's no way I'm going to enter to make any changes. That's the reason why this asterisk, we need to use it every time we need to make changes inside the compartment. If we want to access the value, we need to use asterisk, and that's the difference between this and this. So which makes sense, which means here we have the address and we have the key. So we can actually do anything, we can actually change the value of the value stored in that address. But here we don't have the key, so we only have the address. So we can't do anything, we can actually get to the address but we can't do anything, we can't change the value. So which means um if you don't put asterisk, you're not going to get the value stored in that address. That's very, very important, and is the best way for us to understand this better. So now I'm going to talk about dereference. Dereference actually means we're trying to access this value. That's what it means. Dereference is when we're trying to access this value. So let's say I want to print the value here. So let's say I want to print the value here. So let's see what is going to happen. So now I want to print this value. This is what we call the reference. When we're trying to access the value stored in that address, is called the reference. So if we print this value now, the result is going to be 6, which means it's going to go to this address, it's going to trace this address, and it's going to display what is stored in that address. So that's how it works. The reference is just when you're trying to dereference the pointer, and that means you're trying to give out the value of the value stored in that address. That's what the reference means. So if we write something like this, we're trying to dereference. So now here I'm trying to dereference here. So here I'm trying to dereference this pointer, and what happened here is the value stored in this address of this pointer is going to be assigned to this variable c. So a try to dereference is when you try to access the value stored in the address that this pointer actually hold. That's what we call dereference. So we have two things that we need to take note of. Declaration, this is declaration, which is the first step. We declare the pointer, and now we dereference. So now I'm going to talk about printing memory address. So if we want to know the memory address, how do we know that? We use specifier. So here we use special specifier. So we're going to replace this with p, and we're going to remove the asterisk because this asterisk means we're trying to access the value, but now we want to know only the address, so we need to remove the asterisk. So now I'm going to open my VS Code for you guys to see, and we're going to practice everything we've learned so far. I'm going to open my VS Code now, and we're going to try what we just learned. So first of all, I need to declare a pointer. So I'm going to declare an integer pointer, and I need to indicate asterisk um to know to tell compiler that this is going to be a pointer variable, not just any variable. And I need to declare another variable x, and also assign value which is equal to 9. So now I need to pass the address to pointer. So I'm going to, since we know we've learned that p is the address, y asterisk give us access to the values. When I explain about house and address, the address is the p and the key is the asterisk. So if we want to access the value, we use the key, which is the asterisk. But if we know accessing the value, we don't need to use the asterisk. So now what I need to do now, I need to pass the address, which means p, so I need only p, equal to ampersand. Ampersand actually means address, and we've learned that before. So I'm going to pass the address of this variable x to this pointer, and now I'm going to print this pointer. Now let's see what happens. So I'm going to use integer specifier to print this pointer, and now I need to indicate what I'm trying to print is the value at this address, and now I need to indicate the asterisk because this is what gives us the value stored in that address. And also I need to return 0, and let's see what happens. So now the value stored in the address is 9. So we've seen that it's 9. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to let's try to know this memory address. And how do we know this? We need to use pointer specifier, which is p, and I don't need the value because I'm trying to print the address here, so we don't need the value. So I'm going to delete this asterisk because p actually hold the address. So asterisk has nothing to do with address. It only gives us access to the value stored at the address. So now I'm going to print it, and let's see the result. So now we've seen the memory address. This is the memory address of this variable. So this is the memory address of this variable. So now we've seen that this variable actually hold the memory address of x. So now how do we know, how do we confirm this? Let's do this. Let's change the value. So now I'm trying to change the value stored in that address, so I'm going to be using p again, equals to 10. And now let's print x, because now I try to change value since this p is actually holding the address. So I'm going to change the value stored at the address, and now I'm going to display x, and let's see if the value of x has actually changed. So now I'm going to run this, and let's see what happens. So now we've seen that the value of x has actually changed. So the value of x is now 10. We didn't touch x. What we just did, we changed the value stored at that memory address, and automatically that is going to change the value of x. So that's how it works. This is declaration of pointer, and this is just normal variable. And now here we try to pass the address of this variable to the pointer, and now we try to change the value in the address. This pointer is actually holding the address of this variable. So when we change the values, it's also going to change the value of x. So the values that is actually stored in this address is what we change here. So if we change this to 99, it's also going to change the value of x, which means we didn't deal directly with x, we only change the value stored in that address. So by the time we start dealing with our function, we're going to know how important this is. So when we get to advanced level, we're going to be using pointer also to solve real life problems. This is very, very important for us to understand. And in our functions, when we get to functions, and we're going to be using pointer also, and this is going to help us to better understand how programming works.